Okay, so we're going to start with our Phyllo dish tonight. It's cheese stuffed Phyllo triangles. Now, has anybody worked with Phyllo pastry sheets here before? Yep. You know they can be a little nerve-wracking at times, to put it nicely. So I'll give you a couple little tricks that hopefully will spare you some anguish. When working with this, one of the biggest problems that you'll have is that it dries out quickly. So what you want to have is a damp cloth. You don't want to have it soaking wet where water's pouring off, just enough where it's damp. And you, as you cover this with wax paper, you'll put the damp cloth over it, and that'll help keep it moist. Also, another thing you want to take in consideration is the thaw time. Ideally, you want to put this in the refrigerator overnight and let it thaw. If you have to, you can go ahead and pull it out 5 hours prior to its use and let it thaw that way. The only problem with that is that you run into where it's thawing too quick, because depending on how hot it is, it may get moist and cause some of the sheets to stick together. But as a last resort, you can still use enough of it to finish this dish. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull off a sheet here. If it rips, that's okay, don't worry about it, because one of the key things is that it's dough, and it can be put together with a little bit of butter, and when it cooks off, you won't even notice the tears there. Okay, so I put the wax paper back over, which I usually use wax paper that's already wrapped in. It just makes it a little easier. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cover this with light butter. You don't want to drench it, because that'll just cause it to tear up even worse. Just enough that when it cooks off, you'll have that flavor, but also that crispiness. I mean, if you tried cooking this without butter, it has either a doughy consistency, unless you overcook it, then it has a burnt flavor to it. So to get it just right, just put a light butter on there. Okay, and as you can see, there is a light tear right there in mine, but that won't hurt it at all. And once you're done with the Phyllo also, take it and roll it back up, and then wrap it up. Keep it where it's airtight, and keep it in the refrigerator between 7 and 9 days. It's still fresh enough to cook with. You can also put it in the freezer and, of course, keep it a lot longer than that. So don't feel that you have to throw it away just because you had some left over.
It's okay to refreeze it.
Yes. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to be cutting these for doing our triangles. Different brands have different size sheets. With these, you're looking at approximately about a third of each sheet for one triangle. Okay. Now I use, a sharp knife in cutting mine. I've seen people that used knives or scissors for cutting them, whichever you're comfortable with. And actually, I'm going to be able to cut this into fourths. Okay. All right. Now we got that ready. I'll grab the other mixing bowl here. Let me stir this up while it's cooking there. Yeah, it's starting to soften up a little bit there. Get off there. Okay. So now, I'm going to take my cottage cheese. And then the feta, which I use the Presidente feta. It's a real good flavor and it's got a fresh flavor. Okay, just add that in there. Now you want to kind of stir that up a little bit. Make sure you evenly distribute the two cheeses, like so. Okay, then you want to take 2 eggs and beat them together on the side. There we go. I just find it's easier this way because if you try to beat it while it's in there, you run a chance of the yolk not being thoroughly mixed in with the white, and you might get a surprise in the bite of one of the pitas. Okay. Just stir that up real good. Put that in there like so. Okay, now it calls for fresh mint, which we were talking about that. If you have mint grown in your yard, I guarantee you got plenty. That stuff takes over everything. If not, we keep fresh mint here in the produce, and it is real good quality. And just go ahead and chop that up. I chopped it kind of coarsely, between 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick. You don't want to get it too large for this dish. You don't want to get it too small either. The mint gives a false sense of coolness to the dish, and it's really pleasing, especially during the summertime. You ever had a mint and just kind of wake your sinuses up real quick? Well, this dish will do the same thing once it's cooked. Mix that in there. Okay, then we're going to take some 1.5 tablespoons of dried parsley. Just mix that in there. All right. So we'll go ahead and add this and show you how to fold up the triangles. That's probably the most difficult part tonight, is folding these triangles. Grab a tablespoon. You want to start off in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, I go ahead and try to form it a little bit instead of just having a central blob, because when you fold it over, you're going to have to try to mash that out without tearing the phyllo. So if you go ahead and just give it a basic triangular shape, it'll help out a lot. Okay, just take the bottom right corner, fold it over to the opposite corner. And just kind of lightly press. You don't want to rip the phyllo. But if it does rip, that's okay. It's going to get folded again and it'll be able to seal it up. Okay, this time I'm going to come across like so. Now we're going to come down. Now, if you notice, it doesn't make a perfect triangle. You got some left over. Don't worry about that. It's real easy just to fold it over. Just fold that little piece right here over like so. Now what you do with these, you want to get a cookie sheet, which I went ahead and pre-made some, or else we'd be here a while if I had to do all of these right now. Just lightly butter it, just enough to where it's not going to stick. You want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Depending on your oven, depends on how long these cook. Typically between 12 and 15 minutes, these should be done. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these in the oven. You want to cook them till they got a light golden brown consistency of them. And like I said, with that butter, it's going to have light, crisp texture. And with the cheese inside and the egg mix and the seasoning, it gives it a whole unique flavor of its own that you wouldn't expect from cheese. Okay, and now my Phyllo triangles are done. Let me go ahead and grab them out. All right. Set this back here. Okay. And it's not unusual where sometimes the cheese may come out on the corner. So if you get a couple little burnt edges where the cheese come out, just cut it right off. It's fine. The taste is still there, the crispness, and the looks. You can see where it has the light golden brown texture to it. And it's another item. It's just a great snack item. You can actually let these cool down, but you don't want to let them get cold, because then it kind of kills the flavor.